faces awkward smiles. Many of you unfamiliar with the Indian legal system, and far more of you unfamiliar with AI. And it's been such an enriching process to watch the teams grow, from like awkward introductions to the practice run we did last week to the well-prepared prototypes you have for demonstration today. And this Make-a-thon started out with about 300 people in July and 45 teams. And to see all of you work hard and our final 11 teams up here presenting, it's just, we're so excited. But before we begin, I thought I'd do a small introduction to our grand jury today. We have Priyanka with us from Manupatra, Sachin from Agami, and Vivek Raghavan from Ekstep Foundation. Priyanka has completed her master's from the Delhi School of Economics and is part of the founding team and is currently the COO at Manupatra, a legal tech firm which pioneered online legal research in India and specializes in designing and developing technology products to simplify operations for professionals in the legal ecosystem. I mean, she's been part of the legal tech ecosystem before the word legal tech even existed for the last 22 years now. And beyond that, she's had about 27 years of general management experience spanning e-learning, online publishing, SaaS, amongst others. She's also engaged on the nonprofit side with the Rekta Foundation and has led the production of Jashn-e-Rekta, the Urdu festival, since its debut. Thank you, Priyanka, for being here. We're so excited. Do you have any words you'd like to say to the participants before we begin?
In Urdu.
Sorry, go ahead, Sachin.
I wanted you to say them in Urdu.
Oh my God, I'm going mute then. I just do the production, right? Not the actual thing. Thank you, Rashika, for that introduction. And all I can say is all the very best. Extremely excited to see what we have to see here today. So yeah, let's dive into it.
Thanks, Priyanka. Next up, our next jury member is Sachin Malhan. He is the co-founder of Agami, an organization that some of you are now familiar with over the last 2 months, but that focuses on catalyzing innovation, entrepreneurship, collaborative action to advance new and improved systems of law and justice. Agami's critical role in advancing the online dispute and digital courts in India is well recognized. But before Agami, Sachin was the executive director of the Changemaker program of the leading nonprofit Ashoka. He's previously also co-founded 3 other ventures: Law School Tutorials, LST, Rainmaker, as well as Inclusive Planet, a policy and platform venture focused on greater literary access for the visually impaired. For his work in technology, media, social impact, and education, Sachin became an Inc. Fellow in 2010. He's a graduate of NLS Bangalore and began his career at a law firm at Amachan Mangaldas in Bombay. Sachin cares deeply about the aspiration and potential of every young person in India. And we'd just like to hear a few words from you, Sachin.
Yeah, just super excited. And, for me, what's really exciting is not just the presentations, but going forward with all of you. And, many years later, when this field is more mature, we'll look back, have a laugh and say, okay, these were the ideas we were presenting. This is what we were thinking. That's going to be fun. So I'm kind of, having seen some of these arcs, I'm looking forward to this also being the first part of a nice little arc going forward. Yeah.
Thank you, Sachin. And finally, I'd like to introduce Dr. Vivek Raghavan. He is an out-of-the-box problem solver focused on building digital public goods for India. He's a former serial entrepreneur, has an MS and PhD in electrical and computer engineering from Carnegie Mellon, and a BTech from IIT Delhi. So all the engineers out there presenting, be careful. He's the one who's going to catch you out. Vivek has been the Chief Product Manager and Biometric Architect at the Unique Identification Authority of India. He's responsible for the design, implementation, scale of the technology platform for Aadhaar, the world's largest identity program. He joined the Aadhaar project just when the first Aadhaar was issued and was there when the billionth Aadhaar was generated. Vivek pioneered the use of AI at Aadhaar to improve the quality and services and detect identity fraud. As a chief AI evangelist at the Xstep Foundation, Vivek is an advisor to the Digital India Bhashini. Some of you have been using Bhashini for your prototypes, and also is a member of the AI committee of the Supreme Court of India, where he was responsible for the rollout of the software for translating judgments into 9 Indian languages. Vivek, if you have something to say.
No, yes, I think excited to hear all the things that we're going to see today, and I think and look forward to learning and as the way you guys are trying to put together some of these things. And I think in a evolving field like this, I think all ideas are very important, and that's what I hope to be able to learn today.
Thank you, Vivek. Okay, then I guess without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first team presenting. Civis is building a legal text summarizer to summarize public consultations of legal policy documents. Their summarizer is an open source based on commonly used architecture from natural language processing. It's trained on English language text, and its output is an English summarizer. Civis team, over to you.
Thanks, Rashika. Good afternoon, everyone. Great meeting all of you today. We are Team Civis. My name is Divya, and I'm joined by my teammates Gauri, Gurkirpal, Lasya, and Shanotra. I will be taking a few minutes of your time to introduce you to Civis's work and give a little context to the solution that we are building. Post that, Lasya and Gauri will demonstrate and explain the solution. Today, there is no way where we as citizens can really co-create the laws that impact us. Civis is a non-profit organization that works to facilitate citizens to co-create laws that are being eventually formed by the government. Our work is anchored in a policy known as the pre-legislative consultation policy that lets individual citizens share their inputs on laws before they are formed. We make these draft laws open for citizen review and feedback, accessible to citizens. Now, one of the key steps to this process is to summarize these lengthy and very complex legal documents into a manner that is simple to understand by a layperson. This can be quite challenging. As we can see here, this process, which is carried out manually by our team, can be quite onerous and time-consuming. For example, it can take anywhere between 4 to 7 days for our law volunteers to summarize a law which is open for feedback for 21 to 30 days. That is almost 1/4 of the total time. We believe that technology can greatly improve the efficiency of this process. It will help us make a larger number of draft laws accessible to citizens very quickly and thus increase their participation in the lawmaking process. This, we feel, can have a far-reaching impact in enabling access to justice. We are basically building a legal text summarizer, the working of which will now be explained by Gauri and Lasya.
Thanks, Divya. Hi, everyone. So because of what Divya said, we look to automate the summary generation process using NLP methods. So our solution was to create a web app that takes PDFs as an input and returns a summary as a text output. So we leveraged this model from the Hugging Face library because it has been trained for the specific task of summarizing lengthy documents. We fine-tuned it on 134 document summary pairs because although this model was originally trained on legal text, it was trained on litigations, not laws, and it was trained in the American context. Since the government releases correspondence in PDF format, data cleaning steps included extracting text from PDFs, and we also filtered out Hindi language translations of the English text where applicable. All of this was tied up in a web app, which was deployed using Amazon Web Services. The technical architecture is as follows. So first, the user will upload a PDF, and then we move this into storage and trigger a Lambda function to perform all the pre-processing steps. Then we store the processed data and send it through the model using a second Lambda function. The model was trained and deployed on Amazon SageMaker. The generated summary is then displayed on the front-end website. This input, output, and deployment infrastructure is ready for demonstration, and Lasya will walk you through it now.
So before I start the actual demonstration, I want to show you how a sample input document looks. So basically what we have here, essentially what we have here is a PDF. And so basically you have a PDF document and you can see that it has Hindi text and then it's followed by English text over here. So what we want to do is convert this into our target output, which is summary. So the target, let me show you how the target output should look. So ideally, this is what the output would look like. So you have the document and then you have the summary. Now to show you how the actual app looks. This is our website. So we have services, legal text summarizer, and we have an upload PDF option here. So once you click on upload PDF, let's say we click on this consultation, it takes you to uploading an actual PDF, and then it then processes the PDF. This is all the steps that Gauri explained, the technical architecture, where it essentially removes the Hindi from the document and it converts the PDF to a text file, and then it sends it to the model. The model's it's been saved on an S3 as artifacts, and once it processes it, it summarizes the text that it's been fed. And this is the output. Now you may notice that this output isn't very similar to the target output we initially showed you. And this is because of a certain number of factors that have to be put into our pre-processing that we plan to do in our next stages. So I'll take you back to the presentation now. So over here, you can see in our way forward, we have a couple of steps to tackle the fact that our summary was only a single line long. So over here, we plan to pre-process our data with more accurate tokenization. The current tokenization method is based on the automated tokenizer that Hugging Face offers, and we haven't really tweaked the values too much because we haven't had the time to do that. But we do plan to look at our documents more seriously and properly calculate the kind of values we have to put in to implement the kind of maximum input and output tokens that will give us summaries that actually match our target out. The second thing we want to do is insert a layer of extractive summarization. So this is essentially to improve our Rouge scores. Rouge is the metric that we're using to calculate how accurate our summary is. And what I mean by inserting a layer of extractive summarization is that the current model is an abstractive summary. So it takes the document and creates an abstractive summary from it. It tells you what the meaning of the document is. What we want to do is insert a layer of extraction, which is basically from each part of the document, you extract parts of it, and then you summarize those individual parts, and finally use abstractive summarization to build context and get a final summary. So this will help us retain context and build longer summaries and actually process the entire document instead of maybe losing out some parts. The third thing we plan to do is retrain using human edited summaries. What I mean by this is the summary that you just saw will soon be fed to the actual lawyers who are working on this previously manually, but now they'll start using this to enhance their work. And once they write in the actual summaries, we plan to feed this back to the model, and about every 2 weeks, we'll retrain the model on these summaries. So the model now understands what is the actual expected output. And finally, we plan to add an authentication to the front-end website because, as you saw just now, anyone can upload a PDF to it right now. And we want to make that more secure and ensure that only the people who are authorized can do this process. So we're very excited to potentially help the lawyers make this whole process automated. And we're really excited to execute all of these steps going forward. Back to Divya.
Thanks, Lasya. As Lasya explained, we intend to gradually fine-tune the AI model and develop a product which we see can be useful as a public good to stakeholders across the legal ecosystem. We see its use extending to government organizations, civil society organizations, as well as lawyers who can easily use this open source solution to generate a simplified summary of a legal document in an easy manner. We believe that this solution can facilitate increased awareness and participation by citizens on laws and policies. Rather than a replacement for human intervention, we see the AI model as an enhancement to the existing human effort we are putting in. With that, we'd like to conclude our presentation and thank the entire Agami team. Rashika, Ananya, thank you for your support, as well as Prathamesh and Dr. Ghosh, who advised us on this journey. Thank you, and we now look forward to feedback and questions from you.
So I have one question. So right now, this is only handling English as a language?
Yes.
And are you looking at diversity in language, which can be handled subsequently?
Absolutely. We want to get the English thing perfect first, and then we'll start looking into how to get the Hindi part of the documents into the summarizer.
Sachin, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. So one is that, don't you think, or are you conceptualizing a situation where using the extractive summary, and I'll come to the abstractive part because Vivek has also seen this, that abstractive summarization is not that easy, especially when it comes to legal text. So I'll come to that question, but on the extractive part, why not extracting in such a way that then you can put a human step there, which can allow for the actual context building to maybe be done with a human layer as well. So I'm just wondering, like in terms of just getting to a high quality summary, have you considered doing extractive in the way it sets up for an light editing, so you can get to a context laden high quality summary? That's my first. I'll come back to the next one after that.
Yeah, that actually is a really great idea. I think we do want to involve human input at every stage possible. So when we do include extractive, it's a very good idea for us to maybe display that output on the same website platform, have people edit that, and then feed that into the next step, whatever it may be.
Yeah, because otherwise, trying to solve context through abstractive, the OpenNyai team has seen that is possible, but that's not that easy because context can be and it will vary dramatically from the nature of legislation to. So that's why it may be one little interim solution that still gets you much shorter than 4 to 7 days, maybe half a day, but has that piece built in.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for the idea.
Sure. Over to Vivek.
Yeah, hi. So first of all, congratulations. But I want to ask a question. Now, you want to do this for basically everything that is in whatever this Rajpatra, right? So therefore, are you talking about regulations and all of those things? Any regulation that's putting out there is not necessarily laws, right? Is that what you're saying, that anything for which there is a notification will be summarized? So just curious what your view is on that. That's one question I wanted to ask.
Thanks, Vivek. I'll just give my take on that. So for now, the way we are looking at it is to run the summarizer model for draft laws and policies which are open for legislation, and train the model to deliver an output based on that. Where we eventually would like to see the model and mature further would be to be able to process different types of legal documents in a way that a summary can be extracted by a different organization as well. So that need not necessarily be a law per se, but for now, the scope of our model is looking at draft laws and policies.
Yeah, when you say there is law which has to be passed by Parliament, and there's also regulations, right, which are basically notified by the government. I'm assuming it's for both. We can discuss offline if there's some confusion on that. The second question is this model that you have used. What is the size of? So, for example, for a summarizer to work, at least one way, there are many ways, that the entire judgment needs to be able to be ingested into this summary. So therefore, the original entire law or whatever it is, that the English text needs to be ingested in the model. So what are the limits for your model for the amount of data that can be read into this?
Okay, I'll just answer your first question first. So right now, it's only taking in all the documents that come up for public feedback. That is the policies, laws, and all of this. Regulations, if they're up for public feedback, then we'll take them in as well. Right now, we've trained the model irrespective of what the structure of the document is. It's based on any structure. So let's say if the notification is up for public feedback, then we'll, if it's something that we want to display on the Civis website, we'll put it into the summarizer. The second question, so we chose this model, the legal LED base 16384, based on the fact that it's a long document editor. So originally, when we tried to summarize using Pegasus and the other legal documents, the limits were too tiny for us to put in our entire documents in. So when we spoke to Mr. Ghosh, our advisor, he advised us to use this model. So the limit is 16,384 tokens. So it's 16 times what is normally the limit for a model. So
yeah,
that's the limit.
But still, certainly many laws would be bigger than that, right? But that's my guess, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, sorry, you may continue.
So anyway, that's okay. You have to figure out how to deal with it when the law is larger than whatever model you select. That's one point.
Yeah.
The second point which I'm seeing is that even in the, I mean, of course, the final summary that you gave was extremely small, was 1 sentence long, but even the sample input that you're given was only 3 or 4 sentences. I'm just curious, what is the, what is there a benchmark when the people are doing human summaries? What is really what do humans do when they create the summaries of these kinds of things? And should we not try to be able to mimic that to a certain extent? I mean, maybe better, but at least mimic that to a certain extent. So I'm just curious, when these laws come up for public consultation, I'm guessing that the human generated summaries are significantly longer than even the sample output which you had shared.
Can I take this, Lasya?
Mm-hmm.
So we actually, the sample summary that we showed you is a human generated summary. So we are training based on our training set is the original text from the laws or whatever is released by the government. And then the target output are human generated summaries that Team Civis has actually had their law students go in and make. And then that's what we used to train our model. And then for the first question that when you asked us about our laws being longer, so the extractive summarization that we talked about is specifically to target that problem. So what we plan to do is we plan to chunk up really long laws, and from those chunks, extract the most significant parts and create an extractive summary. And then from that, we create an abstractive summary. That's how we plan to tackle that problem.
Vivek, I'd just like to add to what Gauri and Lasya explained. So the current process that we follow, the lengthy PDF document that we showed on screen, that's something which our team manually goes through, identifies portions of which are relevant to capture in the final summary, and creates one in simplified language, like literally write down a summary in a simplified language, and we've tried to cap it at around 500 words, which is why the final summary that one would that we kind of target or we aim to achieve is something which is similar to what you see on the screen right now.
But this is not 500 words, right? This is barely.
Right. So it depends upon the input as well. At times, it has been a very lengthy policy document, in which case it might go a little longer than what we see right now. But our aim or our attempt is to restrict an overall summary to not beyond 500, 700 words, because then it gets a little cumbersome for a layperson to read and understand.
Understood.
Also, I'd like to add one point here. The 500 word is just a suggestive measure. When
Hi.
it comes to...
Sorry,
So-
I think we'll have to move on to another team. So sorry to cut you off, but in the interest of time, because we have 10 other teams presenting, but do feel free to drop in whatever you have to say in chat, and we'll make sure that the judges get to it or send it to us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, judges, if you're done scoring, should I move on to the next team? Fantastic. Okay, so next up we have team JASP17. They've built a tool they've called Contracto. It helps simplifies contract drafting and review. JASP17, over to you guys.
Starting with the traditional online welcome. Hello everyone, good afternoon. Am I audible? Can you see my screen?
Yes, Santosh.
We are Team JASP17 presenting our product Contracto. Now let's hear the story of Sarla, who is the CEO of an up-and-coming fashion boutique.
Oh my God, I just downloaded this template contract and it is so difficult to customize. ROFO, right of first offer? What does this clause even mean? I wish I could hire a lawyer, but it is so expensive.
Now let's hear the story of Sujata, who is the legal counsel.
Extracting answers from client emails to fill out a template is such a clerical job. Did I really go to law school for this? A Bengali contract? How am I even supposed to understand this? I'll have to find a legal translator for this. Might as well move on to due diligence. So many pages just to find one clause? Oh my God, I wish there was a better way.
It's not just Sarla and Sujata who face these problems. During our user study, we found that an overwhelming number of respondents resonated with these issues. This is a pervasive problem across the ecosystem, affecting a $15 billion economy. Contract drafting and review is costly, time-consuming, and a cumbersome process. In India alone, there are 7.9 million MSMEs, and they are the ones most affected by it. Changing client demands and technological innovation has made the legal industry ripe for disruption.
This is supported by the fact that 42% lawyers feel that 20% of their day-to-day legal work can be taken over by technology. The domestic legal tech market is valued at $3.8 billion and is growing exponentially at the rate of 35% annually.
Taking this opportunity for market disruption, we have come up with Contracto, which makes your contract simple.
So Contracto is all about contract process automation. It consists of two verticals, contract drafting automation and contract review automation.
So both our verticals, drafting and review, have three features each. Under drafting, the drafting through dialogue, answer information extraction, and questionnaire generation. While under review, there are translation, key clauses, and red flag extraction and similar clause search.
Now we will show a demo of our product. We have chosen a non-disclosure agreement as an example to showcase various functionalities of Contracto. Now, starting with the drafting vertical, let's begin with drafting through dialogue. Do you remember Sarla and her contract template that she was struggling to customize? Now she can use our interactive chatbot, which will generate a contract just by asking a few questions. So this is what the populated contract will look like. Our chatbot also supports the multilingual feature. The second feature is questionnaire generation for template contracts. So this is ideal for lawyers like Sujata who wish to work on self-drafted contract templates while also reducing the administrative hassle of drafting to just a few clicks. Under this functionality, the template with empty placeholders is uploaded onto our system and a questionnaire is generated accordingly. This questionnaire can then be shared with the clients to fill it out. Now moving on to our last functionality, that is drafting through information extraction. So this feature basically works to reduce the inconvenience of extracting information from client email chains. So the system will extract the answers from answers to the questionnaire from the emails and also list out the questions which weren't answered. Like as you can see on your screen, the unanswered question is, what is the receiving party's father's name? So now Sajata doesn't have to do the clerical work that she was struggling and complaining about.
Now, moving on to the review vertical, we first look at translation. Remember the Bengali contract that Sujata was frustrated about? Now she can just upload the contract onto Contracto, select the languages, and receive a contract translated in English that she can review easily. The second feature in this vertical is divided into two parts. The first one is key clause extraction. Over here, Sujata can upload her contract and get answers to various questions like the assignment clause that she was worried about, which can be seen on the screen over here. The other part of this feature is red flag generation. Identifying red flags is a crucial exercise that needs to be done for every contract and transaction. For an NDA, the duration and carve-outs, if any, are red flags that need to be highlighted and reviewed. The recent Twitter whistleblower debacle underscores this fact, given that Mr. Zatko's NDA reportedly has carve-outs that allow him to speak publicly about his time at Twitter in certain circumstances. This is a red flag that would have been highlighted by our product, which may otherwise be missed. If you look at the screen, you can see the red flags that have been highlighted by the system, and specifically 9.1 is a carve-out that was there in this NDA that has been highlighted. The last feature of our product is semantic similar clause search. Sometimes you're looking for a particular clause, but can't find it with a simple Control-F search. This results in having to read through the whole contract. But now with Contracto, you can just upload your contracts, type in the phrase, and it will give you the clause or clauses which are similar at a semantic level. Like here, if we were to look for the procedure when information needs to be revealed to a third person, you can easily identify it as written consent from the other party. We would not have gotten this by a simple search, as the phrase is used as third party instead of third person that we were looking for. The clause is also highlighted in the agreement that was shown on screen.
Now we have seen the demo. Now we will talk about what has made through the tech to achieve this thing. So understanding this and opening this Pandora box for the contract drafting vertical, here are the features and the components which we have used to achieve this. For instance, let's talk about drafting through dialogue. We use Rasa, which is an open source platform for conversational AI. It helps to understand users' input responses and then try to understand their intent and try to extract the responses to prefill our contract template. We also support single party and multi-party drafting. Whereas in multi-party contract drafting, the multiple parties can have misaligned responses and we can identify them using natural inference model based on Robota. For rest of the features, we have listed other components. Moving on to the contract review vertical, these are the features and these are the components which we have used. For instance, key clause and red flag extraction, we used QAD dataset, which is a US contract legally expert curated dataset with 41 important attributes. We use a DBERTA model, which extracts those 41 important attributes from the contract document. Because it's trained on US contracts, we train to adapt it to Indian contracts using few-shot domain adaptation techniques using prototypical networks. For semantic similar clause search, we use a legal bird fine-tuned on legal corpora. For all of this, the document contracts are like too lengthy. So we adopted a striding phenomenon so that we can handle the unlimited length phenomena, adjusting to every stride length and moving and reviewing across every small segment of text. So for semantic clause search, we use both the levels at phrase level and clause level using contract NLI dataset to fine tune them.
So once we developed our prototype, we had a few of our target users test it out. 2 of their codes are on screen. Overall, the feedback that we received was that the product and its features are resourceful and that the product would help them improve the efficiency and effectiveness at the same time.
They can't wait to get their hands on our product. Now, coming on to our execution plan, the current status is that we have a functional prototype and have onboarded 5 agreements. As far as the new goals are concerned, we hope to integrate a robust legal glossary in our chatbot. So now Sarla doesn't have to sit and wonder what right of first offer means. We also hope to cover a variety of major contracts like sale deeds, lease agreements, as well as sector-specific agreements like insurance agreements. Now, about the contract summarization and simplification feature, it is basically we aim to help individuals understand terms of a contract without relying on a lawyer.
So for our long-term goal is to move towards a dynamic and adaptive contract drafting process in which we can suggest legal clauses and even templates based on the user's requirements. We also hope to make industry best practices as the standard used by everyone to improve the quality of legal agreements throughout the ecosystem.
Now, when we talk about the impact, industry research metrics strongly indicate that lawyers can reclaim about 30 to 40% of their time if they rely on AI-based products like Contracto. With Contracto's help, repetitive and routine tasks can now be streamlined, and lawyers can now focus on complicated problems and human contact with clients. This not only improves their capacity, but also the quality of their service. In other words, this means that the contracts which are earlier taking you 3 days to draft will now be done in just under 30 minutes.
Contracto is brought to you by Team Jazz 17, comprising of Juhi, Arshita, Santosh, and Prince.
We want to thank Agami for bringing us together. We also like to thank our mentors for guiding us through the process with utmost patience. While Agami envisions no change maker left behind, we at Contracto believe in achieving no contract maker left behind. Our demo is now live and you can try it out by scanning this QR code. Thank you.
Thank you, Team JASP 17. That was exactly at 10 minutes. I'd ask the judges if they have any questions. If not, we can move forward.
No. I do have. I mean, firstly, I'd like to. So I had. I'm just a little curious. You've done lots of things, and was this team just put together for the purpose of this, or was this a product that you were working on even before this event started? Just curious about that.
We met through the Agami platform only, and we didn't know each other before this, and Agami brought us together.
Okay. And how did you choose this? I mean, so one of the things that, and you are saying that there is actually a demo. So maybe I'll play a little bit the demo as to, because you've put together lots of different things to create something. And I can see that it can be useful, but I'm guessing that right now it is still little that there's a bunch of work to be done to actually make it useful. That's what I would guess. But just curious. But certainly, I'd like to congratulate you guys on the work that was put together. If there's actually a working demo of this thing that exists.
There's a working demo that can be accessed through the QR code, and I think Santosh has shared his screen, and you can see it on that as well.
And to answer your earlier question, Arshita and I are lawyers who have a lot of experience in contract drafting. So this entire product is based on our experiences and all the troubles and hassles that we faced while drafting. So this is just a translation of the same.
Okay. And both the bots as well as the contracts are in all languages. Is that correct, or are the contract always generated in English even though the bot is in? Because I think that's actually probably the easier way. I'm just curious to understand that.
We do it. We have a translation pipeline which takes care of translation. So it's, when the bot interacts, every response goes into that translation pipeline so that bot can have the capability to a multilingual setup. Even for contracts, we can send into this multilingual setup. So multilingual pipeline, so the contract also gets in various languages.
Understood. And you are focused on, you said you're focused on certain kinds of contracts, because I think the number of questions asked was very, very few before the contract was generated. I'm assuming that's just the demo, not really. I assume you have a few more questions.
The dataset which we have used consists of 41 predefined expert curated attributes. Given we are targeting a particular NDA, we are only able to extract 8 important features, and rest of the features are not present in that contract. We are not showing the attributes which are not present just to save user space.
Like things like ROFO or ROFO, which can be extracted, otherwise are not present in an NDA. So there's no point in showing of attribute that was not there. Is that thing?
Okay, so you're saying that in any case, the bot journey would have everything sufficient to generate the NDA. And of course, when you're reviewing, you have to review for all the things, right? Because you need to know there might be something in a contract which you haven't seen before, right? Which I'm assuming that you've got to look for all the red flags.
The red flags that are generated through the system are just an indicative list. So red flags will always need to be reviewed by a human, by a lawyer, to see if they fit the particular circumstances and the parties involved.
Okay, understood. So, okay, I don't have further questions. So
I think what Vivek said, I pretty much all my thoughts as well. But I think NDA, because it's a fairly straight and a shorter contract type. So what are the different? Which are the other types that you have kind of tried it on? Though I would love to obviously also play around with this one with the demo.
So far we have tried to integrate and work with wills, gift deeds, employment agreements. We're still in the process of drafting more and sort of integrating it to our systems at the moment.
Right now, we need to manually draft and prepare the system for each agreement. Once we are able to release the product, maybe we can fasten the process because we'll have more resources to work on this.
Okay, and I wanted a little bit clarity on these. So the Bengali contract was translated into English. So essentially, we work with the English version only.
No, we do the other way. No, we do Indic to, Indian languages to English, English to Indian language, and even Indian languages within themselves. So we facilitate all of them using our Indic trans model and the Facebook NNLB model. And couple of contracts, we also, given we only know Hindi in our team, so we have picked up a couple of English to Hindi and Hindi to English to evaluate on, to know how much error rate the current translation systems are making. So given the word error rate, it's less than 1%, 22 documents are passing that. So it means there is less error rate and just a couple of words need to be modeled or just a couple of errors so that the person can quickly make those changes unless taking the effort to hire a legal translator.
Okay, that'll be all from me.
Yeah, just I think the progress for a short period of time is quite remarkable. So absolutely, the number of things you've been able to do is just also the power of the open source plus the ingenuity and the domain understanding. So really awesome. One thing is that, I think we've been seeing when we look at innovations in legal tech, how Sometimes some people go into a very specific solution, like say contract review, and just do everything there. And other times there are people creating little tools that lawyers can use that address different needs of the lawyers. Sometimes translation, sometimes identifying something in a document, sometimes for small but painful things that lawyers need to do. So rather than solving one problem, actually a suite of tools that can solve multiple problems. So what's your sense? Are you going to really go into, are you going to try to position yourself more as a set of tools that lawyers that serve as a concierge to lawyers, even potentially beyond contracts, or really going into contract review and lifecycle management and stuff, which becomes like really focused on one particular domain? Do you have a sense of which direction you want to go?
Hope to encompass both drafting and review verticals. This is because we feel like if we bundle up all the services and give it to lawyers, it'll be an easier adoption process than giving a single service, because there is a friction when it comes to a new service, and to an extent lawyers are considered rigid in their practices. So for them to be able to adopt new practices, especially like multiple different tools, is something we don't see happening. So we hope that our product will be a bundle that you can use to for all your solutions, especially with respect to contract drafting and review. Those are like our main focus.
Thank you. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you, JASP17. Next up, we have
Thank you, Agami.
Thank you. Thanks, Ashita. Next up, we have JD Squared. They're using AI to assist judges to determine the existence of a valid arbitration clause in applications pending before the court for the appointment of an arbitrator. I'll just pin JD Squared. Over to you.
Thanks, Rashika. Yeah, Rahul, can you please share the screen?
Yeah, just a second.
This is the address for your car club. Oh yeah, you remember it. I remember this even if I had your memory. It was right before our first case together. You're right.
That's it, you can start.
Yeah. So there is a voice coming from your background, I guess. Someone's Rashika, if you can please check. Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay, awesome.
Put it on slideshow. Yeah. Hello. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So our team was also teamed up with Agami. So our team name is JD Squared, which essentially stands for Justice Delayed is Justice Denied. So let me introduce the team members. Myself, Siddharth Tatia. My other co-lawyer friend is Zacharias Joseph. We both practice in the Rajasthan and Bombay High Courts respectively. Third one is Rahul, who is a software engineer in a private company. And the fourth one, Sanjay, is a robotic researcher at IIT Gandhinagar. So coming to the next slide. So basically what we have realized through our user study and also our respective experiences, there are a lot of pendency of cases across courts. So for representational purposes, we are going to our background, taking the data from the Bombay and Rajasthan High Court. So there are a total of around 12 lakh cases which are currently pending as per the National Judicial Data Grid as on today. Now, out of all these cases which are pending in the courts, there is certain class of cases which we categorize as cases which have a settled legal position or a straight-jacket formula. Elaborating on that is figure 2, which we say that there are certain cases, say, for example, a partition suit, wherein the issue is about the rights of a daughter in the ancestral property. So that is a fairly settled proposition by the Supreme Court that all the daughters, irrespective of their marriage date or their date of birth, are entitled for a share. Similarly, the issues of retiral dues, which are contingent on the last drawn wages and the number of years in service, is a settled straitjacket formula, but still it takes a lot of time. In terms of consumer law matters, the issue that the consumers which have obtained services or have bought goods for a commercial purpose do not have a locus standi to file a case before a consumer forum. Similarly, check bounce cases, there is a issue of strict timelines that need to be followed. If after a check is bounced, you need to send a legal notice. If that is not there, your complaint in the section 138 matters becomes defective. For the point of the hackathon, we are just talking about the appointment of arbitrator under section 11. And we assume that with slight modification, our solutions can be taken for other use cases. Next slide, please. So what are the gaps in this? The gaps is that, first of all, we do not have any AI-based tool which is effective in the market, which acts as a first-level filter to aid and assist the judicial officers. The problem that we have is to, first of all, develop a product which acts as a filter for the judicial officers, in this case, to decide an application for appointment of arbitrator. Next, please. So first of all, for all my non-legal background friends, let us explain what is dispute resolution. A dispute resolution basically is a process of resolving disputes between parties. There are various forms of dispute resolution, which is like I and Zach are litigators. So it is litigation that where you approach the courts. Then there is a alternative, which is a permanent lok adalat. So where there are processes of negotiation, mediation, conciliation, and arbitration. Without going into the definitions of these, first of all, focusing on arbitration. Rahul, next slide. So basically, arbitration has certain features. A, it is confidential. The judge there is called as arbitrator, and the judgment he delivers is called an award. This is a sought after dispute resolution mechanism for most of the businesses. Coming to Section 11 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, which deals with appointment of arbitrator. So basically, parties can have their own procedure of appointment of arbitrator. If that procedure is not defined in the arbitration clause, any party can approach the High Court or the Supreme Court. If it's a domestic dispute, it goes to the High Court. In an international, it goes to the Supreme Court for appointment of an arbitrator. Clause 6A of Section 11 clearly states that the court should only look into the existence of arbitration clause while entertaining an application for appointment of arbitration. They should also endeavor to decide this particular application in 6 months time period. With our experience, though there was no data centrally available specifically for Section 11, we have come up with filing data as to 40 cases and 10 cases in the Bombay and Rajasthan High Court respectively per week. The disposal average for the Bombay High Court is 11 months, and for the Rajasthan High Court is 17 months. Now, to the extent of the problem, we can have a case wherein in a matter which is in 2022 of Vishnu construction, the Supreme Court has lamented that the matters in the Rajasthan High Court at Jodhpur were pending in defect for 6 long years, just for appointment of an arbitrator. Next slide, please. So there are certain limitations that we faced during the problem solution is that, first of all, there was no readily available data set specifically for Section 11 cases with respect to their filing, pendency, and disposal time. So we have taken our own experience in coming up with the figures. Secondly was did not have any access to the original Section 11 applications or the actual contracts or agreements between the parties. So while explaining the demo, we assumed 2 things. Number one, that we have obtained the judgments and orders of the High Courts under Section 11 from the Bombay and the Rajasthan High Court respectively, and they are assumed to be the relevant data set for the purpose of this hackathon. Secondly, we assume that the results for the aforesaid data set would be replicated from the data in real time, which would be the original application or the agreement. Rahul, over to you to the flowchart. You are on mute.
Am I audible? Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'll be taking you through the entire flow of the application. So we have built a GUI application in which a user will upload a PDF file. Since we have PDF files for like around 10-12 pages, we tend to extract the dispute resolution clause from the PDF file itself. If the dispute resolution clause is found, we then move to the verification of the clause. So we are using certain keywords to actually verify whether that dispute resolution clause can be moved forward for an arbitration clause detection or not. Is my screen visible? Yeah. So next, we then use that verified DRC as an input to the machine learning model. We use a supervised classification algorithm to detect whether the validity of a clause is arbitrator or not. Following which, we come to a judicial decision. Again, if the arbitration clause is invalid, we then move to a forward to a manual scrutiny. Again, if the dispute resolution clause is not found in the PDF, considering our algorithm might not be able to detect different languages or different fonts, at the rarest of cases, we then again move forward to manual scrutiny. I'll just come up with the demonstration of the product. Okay, so is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so initially we come up to upload a file. We get a message whether the file's successfully uploaded or not, considering the case that you only have to upload a PDF file. Next, we extract the clause from the application, as you can see. Next, we verify the DR clause based on the keywords provided by the lawyers. Then we pass this arbitration clause, we pass this DRC as an input to our machine learning model to verify whether that clause is a valid arbitration clause or not. Go with another application. Again, the arbitration clause is verified. Now, considering this is another arbitration clause, verify it. In this case, the model predicted it to be an invalid clause. Since there was a lack of data, we then tend to train it using logistic regression as an algorithm, which works pretty well with less amount of data. We had around 200 plus applications in which 25% of the data was invalid. Most of invalid was actually created, else 75% of the data was valid. Over to you, Siddharth.
Rashika, if I can just wrap up it in a minute.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So coming to the impact, the solution does three things. First, it identifies a dispute resolution clause from a doc or PDF document. Second, it verifies the dispute resolution clause. And thirdly, it classifies it to be a valid or invalid arbitration clause. So we believe that the first level of filtration that we provide would result in a speedier decision making and thus help justice to be delivered faster. And like I said, in figure 2, this can be modified slightly to include other use cases like the negotiable instruments, consumer, etc. The next slide, please. So the future scope that we believe is that apart from the judicial officers, this can also be used for other users like the litigants. So litigants want to know and predict the success rate as to whether our arbitration application would be successful or not for the appointment of arbitrator. The tentative time based on the historical data that we have from all the courts, we can say that will be the tentative time that you will need to decide this application. So therefore, they believe that our tool can inspire other applications based on the approach that we have taken. Thank you. Over for questions.
So I had one question. So I was not clear about when I can understand you extract the dispute resolution clause. Then the concept, next thing that you're doing is verify. How is this verification being done?
So basically, there are certain keywords that we adopt. So for example, to understand whether this is the right thing which the extracted clause is, we have certain keywords like any dispute, arbitration clause, or a dispute resolution. These are certain keywords that we choose to verify it to be a dispute resolution clause.
Okay, so it's some kind of further test on this to you're I mean it's using some method to extract it in the first place, which I'm assuming is also a model of some kind. Now you're doing something more on top of that. I was slightly confused. And then final thing that you're doing, just to be clear so that I'm clear about it, is that given this dispute resolution clause, is it a valid case for arbitration or not? That's what your classification is doing. Is that correct?
That's right, sir. That's right, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, I'll just, if I can come back to your earlier question on verification, the idea is that there may be some clauses that are deadwood, in the sense that they may not have the basic fundamentals of even calling it an arbitration or calling it, or the basic fundamentals of being a dispute resolution clause may only not be there. In which case, ipso facto, it will become an invalid clause. So that verification process itself will sieve out a set of clauses which will say that, okay, look, this is not even fit for putting it through the machine learning process of finding out whether it's valid or not. Now, the third process is valid, invalid. I don't know if we stressed this enough. The point is really that the law was drafted in a way to only restrict it to looking at whether it's valid or invalid. We say that, look, that is something that does not require so much judicial time. And, even a machine can sort of, if the fundamentals are sort of met, the machine can itself prepare a report which tells the judge that, look, it seems to me that this is a valid clause.
Understood. No, as practicing lawyers, do you think that this is something that could be useful in your courts? Just the question.
Sir, this actually came out of the idea is really, yes. I mean, I do think so, because, like one judge has about 40 matters just for appointment of an arbitrator. Now, appointment of an arbitrator is the first step in the process. I mean, it's supposed to be, initially the law was, it's an administrative function. Now, of course, it's a judicial function, but it will help because in that sense, it will reduce the burden on the judge. And that's the idea. The idea is that if you can reduce the burden on the judge will have more time to spend on matters that actually require him to sort of use his judicial discretion.
Understood. Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for and good job, guys.
Just not a question, but just a comment that I think what's cool is that there could be so many analogous applications where something can be verified, something can be tested, and then that becomes a filter. And of course, it's an assistive tool. It's not meant to take over the function of anybody. But there's scope for having an ecosystem of assistive tools that kind of are a part of one system. I think that's really exciting. And the good part about doing it in small bits is that rather than rolling out some big system, you can actually say, okay, for this category, because here there's a lot of this determination that is happening, we can offer this tool for this judge so I think really cool little entry points that are the opposite of offering some massive system that then people get intimidated by. So really, really good stuff. Thank you, JD.
Thank you, Sachin.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I see potential in the filtering which can be done, and because you can start from a small piece instead of relying on large numbers and a lot of people to start off with. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Team 30 that's going to present their model next. Their model aims to provide a neutral mode of case listing for the Karnataka High Court, and they've used their data specifically from the National Judicial Data Grid. Team 30, over to you.
Yeah, am I audible? Can I go ahead?
Yes, Kaushik, you're audible. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So good afternoon to all members of the jury who are present here. So I will just share my screen and start presenting the model itself. So I think both lawyers and litigants, we always have like this great concern about how cases are being listed, right? So we don't know when a case would be listed. So how it works currently is when you file a case before the High Court or say even the Supreme Court for any matter, it's mostly an administrative function of the registry itself. And we see that most of the cases which are being listed currently now, we don't know on what basis they have been listed currently, right? So our idea is to use the existing data from a National Judicial Data Grid on pendency for the Bengaluru bench of the Karnataka High Court to ensure that cases which have been pending for the larger number of years will be getting a priority in being listed. So what we have done, this is about why we need neutral case listing. We can see that, say, even now before the Supreme Court, it has just decided to hear the matters on, electoral reforms or challenge with CA. So what we can see is that there's again like an arbitrary mode of our parameter in which cases are being listed. So what are the main data sets what we used for the model? So we extracted 72 case types from the case data section of the High Court of Karnataka. Then we have matched this with the case pendency data for the Bengaluru bench of the Karnataka High Court. Then we have also used a judge roster list for the month of July to ensure that the amount of cases what we have, that is the pendency data what we've used. The baseline for that is July 6th. So the idea was to live link it to the National Judicial Data Grid. But our tech mentors told that would be a lot of difficulty in doing it in such a short amount of time. So what we have done is the main inputs what will be there for a model itself would be, one is the case type, that is say a second appeal. Then they would enter like the case subtypes, that is it a regular second appeal, is it a miscellaneous second appeal? Then the grid will look into, the AI model will look into the case pendency data from the National Judicial Data Grid to see which matter has been pending for a large amount of time, and this is applicable for both fresh and original listing. Then to check whether under which judge it falls under, the subject matter, and it will also look into whether it's numerically allowed. So what we have done is we have taken data for 1 month, that is from 1st of July to 1st of August, to see the maximum and minimum number of cases that can be listed before a High Court. So the registrar officials will enter the case type, the data filing, and the case subtype as the inputs. The AI model will cross-check the case subheadings from the pendency data. Then the AI model will allocate the case type to the respective court hall. Then it would check the cause list again, like I told you, if it's numerically allowed, and will provide the date of listing along with the court hall. So this is just like the compilation of the main data what we have done. So here you can see the judge name, the court hall number, the subject matter, the case types, and the priority in listing. So I think I'll give it to our tech mentors to, okay, I'll just talk a little bit about the impact. So what will be the potential impact of a model itself? So one, we can expand it to, other judicial and quasi-judicial bodies for listing. And one key feature of a model is that we're listing cases per court hall averagely, unlike the Supreme Court roster system, which even the Supreme Court has an automated listing system, which right now it lists cases equitably among all court halls. And it can also generate discourse in the use of a technology to tackle pendency to ensure that first, pending matters get heard the first. And we also have this thing called expedited listing. So this is like an exception to the original model what we have done. So we have talked to practicing lawyers such as the Additional Solicitor General of India for the Karnataka High Court, Nargund MP, the former Assistant Solicitor General of India, and my own law school professors on some criteria what we can do to ensure some cases need to be expeditiously listed. So for example, just if you take an arbitration award based on the subject matter of the arbitration or the value of the arbitral award, say it's for enforcement of a foreign arbitral award, then in case of RERA appeals based on data filing, in a commercial suit based on value of the suit. So how the new cause list would be like, we have done a breakup to be for 100% of cases that are listed before a court hall. It would be 60% would be given priority for pending cases, 20% would be for fresh cases, 15% for expedited listing, and 15 for mention. We want to discourage the practice of senior advocates mentioning cases, and to ensure they use the process of expedited listing to ensure cases that on each facts and merit of each case, they get listed earlier depending on the judge's discretion. So we're removing the registry's discretion in this matter. So over to my teammates Askan, who will give a overview, like a very draft short demo what we have.
So hello, myself Jayesh. So is my screen visible?
Yes.
It's visible.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So actually, we have the case documents here. So once we select the case document, it will actually extract the case number, case type, and another one is a case uh, or case number, case type, and the date of the thing. So the date is based on, like, if the case is very old or it is fresh. Then based on the case type, that is civil or criminal, it will take in these three parameters. Based on this thing, it will try to decide, like, which case must be given to which judge, and at what time this judgment must go on. So this is a small GUI based thing, where you can upload either the case document, or you can extract the data in an Excel sheet. You can provide that thing. So based on that, it will decide which judge must be given, and which court hall number, also the cost list. Like so actually this is a little bit hard coded, that 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 we have done using a little bit of AI. Then again, we are thinking of using machine learning and also natural language processing, since the data is very big and it cannot be processed so easily. So to work on these technologies, there is a time criteria. So for that, we'll be working on the thing. Like, I hope I'm clear.
Okay.
Kaushik.
Is it time for questions, or are you going to say more something?
Yeah, we would be open to having any questions.
Yeah, so I just want to understand. So what you are doing is that basically you're taken. I mean, I don't know. You have taken all the cases that can possibly be listed at some given time, and then deciding which ones are listed and with which judge and in which court hall and whatever. Is that basically what you're just doing?
Just ensure that the cases that have been pending for a larger amount of time will be given like the priority in hearing.
Yeah. So, but there is also a capacity question, right? So how are you looking at capacity, the number of cases that can actually be looked at? I'm just curious.
Yeah, sure. So we took the average number of cases that can be listed for a court hall for 1 month. So we took like the 1 month data. So we had the most, the lowest, the highest, and the average number. And based on our stakeholder consultations, we decided to use average as the numerical bar per day.
Okay. So therefore, the number of cases being looked at will not change, right? Because you're using the average. So in the end, the number of cases listed will be the same.
Exactly.
It is just that the cases being listed are different based on whatever your algorithm is. I didn't think your algorithm was neutral because it also had a view that this many percent of various things. But having said that, and then you are looking at the subject matters of the various judges to decide also to decide various things. Is that also what you were saying?
Yeah, we're looking at the subject matter based on the roster list itself.
Okay. And how do you know what the subject matter of the case is?
It would be there from the roster list, which is be updated on the High Court website. So we took it for 1 month.
Okay. So that the roster list also contains the subject matter of the case also.
Yeah.
Okay. Understood. No further questions.
Okay.
So essentially, Kaushik, sorry.
Go ahead, Priyanka.
Okay. So just to wrap my head around this, it's essentially to take care of the arbitrary nature of how cases are being listed.
Yeah.
That would be Okay.
Just a question on the how, and maybe Vivek would have understood this better than me. But am I correct in understanding that essentially you're looking at really a set of rules that if this is this kind of case, then this much weightage to give the case in terms of importance to get listed. So then, is it correct to say one part of your work is creating some kind of case taxonomy? Another kind of work is a set of rules to then parse that case taxonomy that, okay, these kind of cases are there. And then maybe you're doing some kind of keyword matching as well. Is that the combination you're looking at right now?
Yeah, definitely. So what we're doing first is for pending cases itself, they'll be given the priority, and based on the expedite listing, that was the factors what we have reached out to stakeholders itself. That would be like the second thing. So the expedite listing would be an exemption to the original listing system, what we have done. So to be honest, the idea what we originally had was say the litigant or the registry official can upload a case document, and the AI would read like the writ petition or the subject matter from that. But we ran into difficulties since there isn't much open data on that. We do have private files like on my own, but we don't know whether that would be useful or very accurate. So we just decided to use the pendency data from the National Judicial Data Grid itself. And the AI model also works on the assumption that all the cases that have been entered by the registry official is it's free of any defects. So that is like one more caveat of the model itself.
Okay. So you in an ideal situation, you would have the AI model sort of do the weighting of that case based on facts, issues of law. You in an ideal situation, you'd want to do a lot more of that. But right now, you're basing
due to paucity of time.
The information you already have. Okay, I see. So right now, a lot more of you've done a lot more of the logic, the legal logic of it, right? You haven't really
definitely. That has been decided. Yeah, we didn't have time on a tech part.
You haven't done the technical.
Most of our teammates are students, so pretty much caught with exams.
So your bias is more on the legal logic of it, and the technical part. That's why I was trying to make sense of the presentation, and I realized the technical part is something you still need to work on in a very big way.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you, Team 30. We have Team KitKat, who's going to do the next presentation. Their tool focuses on building an automated case note generation to break down Indian judgments.
Thank you so much, Rashika, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. This is Team KitKat, and our case automated generator tool is known as Themis. So we are Team KitKat, and thank you so much, Agami, for this wonderful opportunity. I am Disha Pathak, and I'm a fifth-year law student at ULS Punjab University, Chandigarh, and rest of my teammates would introduce themselves.
Hi, this is Aninda. I'm working as senior data engineer in Europcar.
Hi, this is Priya Pathak. I'm working as a business engineer with Allianz Technology. And we would like to thank Ms. Vishali, who is our mentor, for her valuable feedback to refine our product. Now I'll hand over to Disha to proceed further with the presentation.
Thank you, Priya. So our product is a case note and automated case note generator. So our agenda for today is like, what are we trying to solve? First of all, like I, as a law student and even as a legal professionals, we find judgments, especially from the Indian courts and honorable Indian courts, very overwhelming and lengthy. And apart from that, it could be time consuming for the law students as well as for the legal professionals. And because of the overwhelming lengthy judgments, it hampers our understandability and enhanceability of the logic of the, to make the logic of the judgment also. So in process of that, for example, if I am a law student and if I'm giving a task of analyzing a judgment, right? So I have to go through the whole judgment, which hampers my understandability also, and forget about the layman. So, right. So if I'm reading a judgment, I would want to know that what are the specific parts of the judgment to focus on. So for that, I had interviewed 10 to 15 legal professionals as well as law students to gauge what to expect from the legal tool and whether they are comfortable with the technology and the legal design also. So our product is focusing on the legal design also. A legal design is basically to enhance visually the understandability of our users. So I interviewed 10 to 15 legal professionals, and they all agreed that the most important part of the judgment, it may vary subjectively, but the most important part for them is to analyze a case note. That is to give that what is the case discussing about, what is the law established, and what are the dates. For example, for a law student, if I am researching upon say an ITC case or a matrimonial dispute, for me it would be necessary that what are the chronology of the dates to gauge upon the facts, and then to go upon what is the law established and what is the judgment, like what is the dictum of this judgment. But the thing is, I had to create this judgment which is of say 50 pages into just 1 page, and that becomes overwhelming and very monotonous also. So the case note is what we are trying to what is the primary object of our legal tech tool. And second was, and all the legal professionals and law students agreed upon, that most of the existing legal tech tools, they don't focus upon the visual enhanceability of the tool, right? So our tool focuses on the legal visuals, the legal tech and the the visual enhancement of our visual enhancement of the case note generator. So to describe the product more enhancively, this is an automated case note generator, and it is designed to provide the user with automatic textual and visual representation. Secondly, it uses the SOTA NLP, name entity recognition. These are the algorithms in very simple language to identify what are the multiple parts of the component. For example, a judgment may contain the jurisdiction, the dates, the organization, the petitioners, and the precedents, and finally the judgment. And third, it is the most important part of a legal tech tool is the graph-based approach and the tabular approach. Now, the graph-based approach is to give the judgment in a gist to our users, right? And the tabular approach is, for example, if I'm making a case note, I have to note down the dates. I would not have to do it in a separate Word document, but it would be automated generated, like the chronology of the dates only. And fourth, the most important option is the download option. We give a download option to our users so they can download the automated case note, right? And even they have the option to edit themselves. If like they want to add something which the tech tool might have missed, they can add the relevant part of that judgment themselves also. So they can edit the note also. So that's about our product. And the target market is, because I'm a law student and I wanted to mainly target this tool to the law students who are often focused on the judgment reading and the long hours which they have to give to the judgment reading. And as we go forward with this tool also, it would also be focused on the legal professionals who are dealing with the judgment specifically. So, and the legal design is the attraction of a legal tech tool, and which will be in lieu of which I will be giving the demo of the tool. Over to you, Ananda.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. So let me start with a small demo of the tool, and then I'll come back to some of the market comparisons and some further enhancements. I hope my screen is visible. Yeah, okay, fantastic. So we call this tool Themis. It's based upon the Greek goddess of law. The idea of the tool is that you have your judgment files, which are predominantly, for us, it was a PDF in PDF-based format. And for the limit of the tool, we have kept it like 200 megabytes, which we have found that most of the bigger judgments are falling under this particular file limit. What to do is, like, for a user, you need to add in judgment. So in this case, we are going with a very well-known judgment that is regarding I think it was regarding the Mafia Queen. Yeah. So in this case, what happens when we upload the judgment, our multiple, so it first calls the NER API in the backend, which is written on Spacey, and it is optimized for a CPU usage, which is a very small model, but it has great capacity. So what it does, it actually identifies some of the main components which we have identified. For instance, it will identify the various names or various entities which are associated with the judgment, like for instance, lawyers associated with it, the organization associated with it, the provisions, the sections associated with it, and basically it is disseminating the information from the judgment into small segments. After that, what happens, we have created our own graph embedding API. What it does is that from the NER, what we have done, we have created graph components. Basically, it's like a key value combination. So for instance, you might have provisions, and under provisions, you might have multiple sections. So what it does, it actually segregates this part into multiple sections. And simultaneously, we have also created a tabulated view, because what you understand from our user research is that people like to identify, or people love to see things in a tabulated manner. And this is same for legal professionals, and even it is same for analytic professionals as well. So this view, so if I'm just taking you through it, so first view will be the text of the uploaded case study. And then we have the first part, which is decimating the data into smaller and smaller components. So this is organized chronologically. So if you were to read the judgment from top to bottom, the same decimation happens in the tabular view. So from top to bottom, you will have smaller chunks. This, according to us, makes it very easier for the user to take into the more important chunks of the document. Furthermore, if you want to do some research, so for instance, you don't want to read the entire judgment and you just want to say search for a provision, then you can easily, so you can easily use a search tool that is inbuilt within this tool itself. And then basis our understanding, we have segregated into two parts, like three parts. First is the date part, which shows all the dates that are important in our judgment. We have the important persons in the judgment. We have divided into judges, lawyers, and other people and respondents. And there are the other and the legal components in the judgment. For instance, you have the case number, the code, the organizations, precedent provisions, statute, all identified by NER and then segregated into subsequent sections. For visual enhancements, we have provided a graph-based approach, which gives you a one view look of the entire judgment. This is like a more selective view, you can refer to as an index of your judgment. Here, it's more like you can play around with it. You can, it's interactive, and you can see what are the organizations that are mentioned in the judgment, what are the case numbers that are mentioned in the judgment, who is the judges mentioned in the judgment, etc. And finally, to wrap it up, what you have given is a download option, which prepares a case note file in a docs format. So I'll show you the file. Just a moment. So this file is an editable file, and this is basically gives you a one-click way of generating your case notes without even, perhaps you might not have read through the entire document. And then after that, perhaps you want to add your own notes, you can add to it, thereby reducing your effort and time, to prepare the case notes. So initially what you understood was like it took 3 to 5 minutes for a seasoned user to read through a judgment. Now they can do it within seconds and then add their own value to it. And of course, we are thinking of enhancing this entire solution by understanding like what other functionalities that a particular legal user might require. For instance, we are thinking of using an archiving nature of the tool, perhaps adding a section where a user can input the research directly from the tool itself. So yeah, to give you a generic summary of the case note file that it creates, it basically highlights the case name. Basically, it also identifies the code and all the other codes that have appeared in the judgment. So the first code is like the code where the basically judgment has been passed, and other codes are all the mentions of the codes that has happened. From the date point of view, we have an automated date section. So what happens is we have a automated section which generates the dates and organizes them as per how the dates are appearing. And we have a small component built into the system. What it does is it extracts the entire sentence from that particular judgment. So that our idea is that when you see a small label, you might not understand it more, but to give the context more meaning, it will identify the entire section so that when you read it, you get an idea about what this label means and where it is mentioned in your judgment. So this becomes more important when you're talking about like the statutes and for instance, the provisions, because for instance, you see section 499, you know that in this judgment, it was referred to this section in the PDF. So in an essence, you're not reading the entire document, but in a small chunk, you're getting the entire information in a gist.
So how many pages is this case note for?
So as of now, with larger, say, judgments, we have seen that it has spanned to like 2 pages. And for smaller judgments, it is less than 1 page. In 1 page, it can accommodate the entire thing. So it depends upon the judgment.
So what we see on the screen is a case note.
Yes.
But isn't that much longer than a page or 2?
So the idea is like we are not eliminating the people involved in the legal, I mean, the people who are more conversant with the law. The tool gives them a template to start with, and then they can just, extract the part they want and make the case note like as per them and reduce the effort in doing so. So the tool just gives you in a gist the important sections, which according to us are like the important sections that one should refer to in a judgment. And then as per the user's conviction, I mean, desires, they can change it. They can eliminate the parts they require, or add something that they need. So that was the initial idea that we had with the tool.
Aninda, is it correct to say that your basic premise is that most of the meaning of the judgment can be extracted by relating it to the entities? Right now, you're dependent on that understanding, right?
Yes, exactly.
Because if there is meaning in the judgment that is not linked to an entity, you won't catch that currently.
Currently, yes. So that's for that reason we're working with the graph component. The idea of graph component is to link what you said. So for instance, what we have found is that we are building on this competency. So for instance, so one of the problems we found, what you said was very correct. For section 499 can have like many references. It can be from different provisions. And since there are no very strong linkages, it was very difficult to say link them under one sections. So now with this idea, what we have is like we'll create a graph components which will help us to connect it to the specific provisions and connections. And if in this aspect, if you don't know, suppose for instance, there's no mentioning that section 499 refers to this, but since we have a graph-based approach, we can then map it to a specific entity, even though if we don't have the meaning. This way, we can build it.
You don't feel a rhetorical roles model would help you here?
We tried the rhetorical one, we thought with that context, but we found that one of the key issues was the repetitive use of some of the parts. So the reason we went with NER was like, NER helps us to extract that first.
I see.
Yeah. So then actually,
you use a rhetorical roles approach almost potentially as a layer on top of the NER, right?
Yeah. Yes. So actually, now we are exploring something very interesting. So we are exploring two approaches. One is a weekly supervised learning approach, okay, which encompasses some like transformer-based model as well as some like a rule-based model, as well as we are thinking of a taxonomy-based model, which we're exploring currently. But this is more like custom-based writing it. This is not something that you can just take out from Hugging Face or something like that. So in that context, you need more time to understand it. And perhaps a taxonomy-based model would be much suited for it, which is found much more success in biological models. Like, we have found similar use cases, but in different domains. And that could be useful for us. Yeah.
I have first of all, I think good work. I think quite impressed with what you've been able to do. I'm assuming you also started just as part of this Make-a-thon.
Yes.
So first of all, I think congratulations on that. The one point that, and I think that I kind of like the way that you are kind of organizing the data that comes out there. I think one of the things that you should actually do is you should actually give the ability for experts to go over this, not when you do, before you do download, to do experts to go over this and correct and add information before the download, right? So therefore that's that because supposing and so therefore if there's information that's not relevant or something like that, then that can get removed and the notes become other additional relationships that you're not able to kind of understand, but someone can. Then that's another way of kind of creating this. So you should have a manual component where people can actually kind of decide what's in there and what's not in there, so that it becomes more useful. And I think that so yeah, that's one point that I had there, but I think good work in general.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Yeah. So I mean, I think I'm almost done. I've just had like the last part where we are thinking of some future enhancements. Some I think already I mentioned, and the last part was like we are also thinking of other So it mostly falls down to user expectations. So I think currently our number of the users that we talk to are very limited, but we want to understand more about what are the user expectations in this regard. And so far, what we have understood is that if we are able to help them in this small scale, perhaps other avenues will open up, because there are various avenues. So for us, the most important aspect is to autonomize the sections which are repetitive in nature in any profession. And in legal profession, this might be a big challenge, and perhaps it will be helpful to make it very interesting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, KitKat. We'll just take a short 3-minute break. We have 4 more teams to go. We'll come back by 4:35, just a small bio break. And I think we may spill over by 10 minutes. Is that fine with everybody? Call me go on till 5:15. Okay, sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi guys, I hope everyone's back. Just switch on your cameras if you're back. And I request the next team initiators to be ready. Vivek, Sachin, can we start? Adityan, just give us another minute. I think we'll just wait for them to come back. Thanks. Awesome. Vivek, should we go ahead? Are you here? Awesome. Adityan, over to you. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Asmi Agrawal. We are representing the team, the initiators. Further, I would like to introduce my co-mates. Adityan Ranjan, he is from Velo Institute of Technology as an engineering student. Satakshi, PSIT College of Law as a law student, and Somesh Pathak, Praveen Gandhi College of Law. Further, I would like to request my co-mate Adityan Ranjan to take over.
Thanks, Asmi. The objective of our project was initially driven by the fact that we as citizens and students of India recognize the immense importance that democracy has as a foundation to our country. It is one of the key pillars of democracy, that is the justice system. Its role is very significant to keep order and balance in society. And we wish to use our technical experience and analytical skill to contribute to enhancing and improving the system, thereby positively impacting the society at large. Why solve this problem? We want to help in improving the efficiency and reducing delays by encapsulating the whole judicial process that can be automated through AI. And we also want to transform the justice system into a fairer, faster, and more transparent process as a whole. What is our product? We propose to use a speech-to-text model and integrate it with a rhetorical role model and a text summarizer. It will use the open source deep speech benchmark for understanding Indian legal documents and the judgments extractive summarizer. The advantages of using such a product will be that it saves an immense amount of time by automating transcription. It reduces legal transcription costs and provides the highest possible accuracy and is always available, unlike its human counterparts. The scope for customization is also available based on the exact format that is required for the use case. It will also speed up research and document reviews with the summarizations that are provided. The public has a better understanding and more access to the court proceedings and judgments, thereby being more informed and being better citizens as a whole. The target audience is the entire legal system as a whole at a macro level. Courts can carry out and adopt such a product to take advantage of its benefits, which will lead to a more efficient system overall. Two main beneficiaries that are specific include obviously the judges and the lawyers, who can focus solely on proceedings, review testimony in court, deliver faster judgments, search testimony during proceedings, revise trial strategy in court, and discover how something was said, not just what was said. Again, as a result, it will lead to a better positive impact on society as a whole and benefit the public. Our solution is a creative use of AI because we are combining and integrating state-of-the-art AI models to create a fully fledged integrated system. We are leveraging robust models to build a system that is greater than the sum of its parts. The impact that we have will greatly improve the transparency, uniformity, and efficiency of the system. It will also lower expenses for litigation and judicial proceedings, thus making it more accessible to all sections of society. If we are successful in our pursuit, we will implement an open public repository where all transcriptions of the courts are uploaded by verified authorities and officials. Hence, the public is better informed and served as the court proceedings are scrutinized more systematically. Before I move on to the challenges, I wish to show you the demonstration that we could come up with at this point. I hope the web page is visible. Now, of course, I wish to address, thank you. I wish to address the point that we were ambitious in initially setting out our project, and we wanted to make sure that we integrate a bunch of AI models. But at this point of time, because of our lack of expertise, we were only able to come up with a part of the entire process, which is basically speech to text, which is what I'm showing you. Now, of course, I also want to address the fact that the accuracy as a whole is a little down, but with continuous improvements and a better mentorship and overall experience, we will be able to improve this as a whole. Now, this is obviously real time. In the application in the court, we ideally would have a small device that can do the same thing and display the results. Now, we can save this transcription as a whole, and it will be available in the temporary database, and it can be extracted for later use as well. Back to our presentation. The challenges that we faced coming up with the project was initially the coordination with the team and establishing the vision and the objective of the product as a whole. We also found that implementing the project at a high level and making the various models were a little tedious because of the various version mismatch errors and the input format errors that we had. Our final prototype is still in development due to computational limitations from our end, but we also want to make sure that we are able to do that in the best possible way. So we kept that. We wanted to take it one step at a time and make sure whatever we are presenting is the best of its kind. Of course, in the final product, developing a robust platform that is platform independent and can run on any device is the ultimate challenge that we will face in the future. Further improvements to the project includes a holistic framework that can act as a public document management repository containing the transcription and summaries of the courts uploaded by any verified authority and official. We also want to implement a confidentiality and authentication process such that the information is not classified in any way. And we also want to implement a transcription and translation for multiple languages, named entity recognition, and contract reviews with risk factor analysis. With that said, I wish to thank the Agami team for this opportunity. It was great fun, and it was an incredible learning experience to work for this project. We also want to thank the judges for their time in evaluating our project, and obviously our legal mentors who are guiding us along the way. Thank you so much.
I think my first response is that definitely, as you yourself said, that the system is much greater than the sum of its parts. But way too many, is there something that you've left under the sun of the ecosystem? I mean, the list was endless.
Right. So we initially set off by focusing on only the transcription and the summarizer, but we also figured out that the summarizer in itself involves the object model entity detection as well. So we added that as a part of the proposal. But essentially, the summarizer is a little independent from the transcription in itself.
And where did the contract review kind of,
That was just a future scope, the way down the line that we can improve first after we focus on implementing these things to the maximum extent possible.
And I would assume that you try to kind of explore some element of, there are way too many dependencies here.
Right. Integrating the models was a bit of an issue, which is why I only showed the part that was completed as the component because of the version mismatch errors that we faced in Python in itself and the different frameworks that we were using, and also the computation limitations from my end of my device.
Yeah, this is Vivek. First of all, you're the first college team, so congratulations. That at least maybe there are some in the remaining ones, but do want to encourage our students to participate in that. So thank you for that. And just from a perspective, just from a pure tech perspective, I'd like to say that there are many other state-of-the-art kind of language models, etc., that are available, and maybe you should take a look at them as well. So, but anyway, congratulations. Being I think it's really nice that we are having people in college participating in this Make-a-thon. So, and look forward to you doing interesting and good things for the country. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We just want to address the fact that, like you said, there are multiple state-of-the-art models available, but this was the most accessible to us in terms of the knowledge that we have at the moment. So we chose to go with that.
And Adityan, I think I'd also recommend that you just stay plugged into what are the other initiatives that are happening in this, so that your own understanding of how people are applying, where they are stumbling, where there's an easy win available, what the impact looks like, all that keeps evolving as you look at the ecosystem, because it's one thing is your own ideas framing, but it should not be like, okay, here's the idea and that was great, and like just plug into the whole ecosystem. I think that down the line, your understanding of what can be used, how, when is it ready, will just go up immeasurably.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, team initiators. Legally Blonde, I request you to begin your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Good evening.
Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yeah. Ramya, Prithvi, Diksha, and Veda, are you guys here?
Chetan, only a part of the screen is visible.
I'm sorry?
Only a part of the screen is visible. Can you try resharing it?
Yeah, 1 second. What about now?
Not visible.
I am able to see the screen. I don't know others.
I'm able to see the
So am
first
I. I'm
page.
able to see the first, yeah. The final pitch slide.
Yeah. So, good evening, everyone. We are Team Legally Blonde. I'm Sheetal, and I'm here with my teammates Prithvi, Ramya, and Veda. We are final year computer science students at PES University, and we also have Diksha from NMIMS Mumbai. So she's the law student in our team, and we worked under the guidance of our technical mentor Saurav Kant and legal mentor Shreya. So coming to the outline. So we noticed that the Supreme Court of India faces a severe pendency of cases, and this could be attributed to numerous factors such as shortage of judges or insufficient access to resources or lack of automation in the legal system itself. So through the power of technology using artificial intelligence, we thought we could help make this process easier and help in proper extraction of information from lengthy case documents and reduce the time spent by law professionals and judges in going through them and preparing for cases. And the impact of our product would be, so we are building a similar case retrieval system. So this would help law practicing professionals as well as laymen help find similar cases based on their input. And this similarity could be based on different factors such as facts, statutes, or precedents based on what is important for that particular user. So we hope to leverage the thematic similarity between different rhetorical roles using knowledge graphs to implement this. So coming to the abstract and scope, we extracted the similarity from different case documents and also identified the different thematic segments in them. And we stored these in the knowledge graph, and using different similarity computation methods, we got the similarity score. And based on that, we returned the similar case document. So this is our proposed approach. The dataset we are using is called the ILDC dataset, or the Indian Legal Document Corpus, which consists of 35,000 case documents. But for this purpose, we used only a subset of that. So initially, we label the case into civil or criminal, and then go on to perform rhetorical role identification, and then represent them as a knowledge graph, and then extract the similar case document. So the first part is the data labeling. So we noticed that some case documents in the data set they were missing some initial information. So for that, we performed a reverse search on the India Kanun website and extracted that. Then based on it, we checked if the case summary text has words like civil or criminal in them, and use them to label the case like this. And then we came to the rhetorical role identification. We initially started off, we also tried NER, but then we realized named entity recognition can be used only to tag very short phrases. So they could be used only for a few of the rhetorical roles, such as statutes or precedents. But in order to extract all the thematic segments, we realized we needed something that would consider a much larger context. So for that, we chose a rhetorical role identification that an existing work, the API that was provided by OpenNyai and Except Foundation. So given an input text, the API tags different sentences as different rhetorical roles. And what we did is, so this is the output of the API. So we combined all the sentences belonging to a certain rhetorical role and then found the similarity for each thematic segment. Veda?
For computing the similarity between legal case documents, we initially used a few similarity metrics like Jaccard, Euclidean, and cosine. We implemented frequently used text embedding methods like TF-IDF, Talk2Vec, and also computed similarity using BERT, a deep learning based textual similarity method. We asked a team member who's a law practicing student to rank a few documents from the dataset considered on the basis of the similarity to on the basis of the similarity to each other in order to understand the relevance of the implemented system with the real world requirements. Next slide. Yeah, on comparing the ranking obtained and the implemented system, we came to a conclusion and used TF-ITF, a text embedding system with cosine as the similarity metric. Also, not all rhetorical roles are important in determining how similar the two given case documents are. So, with the help of the with the help of the team member with legal background and legal mentor, we got the ranking of rhetorical role based on their importance in determining the similarity between the cases. We assigned weights and calculated the weighted average similarity score using the formula mentioned on the slide. Next. Okay, this is the representative diagram of the knowledge graph that we implemented. The case documents are represented as the node with the 13 rhetorical roles as the attributes, and the weighted average similarity score is mentioned along the edge.
So this is the implementation. Here, the node is the case document, and it has different attributes, which are the rhetorical roles. And the edge weights here are the similarity scores between the segments of different documents. Okay, now coming just one second. Now coming to the is my screen shared? No.
No, the screen isn't shared.
Now?
Yes, it's shared.
Yeah, okay. So our system would take the input as a case judgment text, and then it would, from our database, it would identify which case it is. And then it would look in the database where we store the weighted average scores. And based on that, it would return, like, say, the top 10 or top 5 similar cases. So this is from the CSV, but we could also represent this using knowledge graphs. And is the slide deck visible? Yeah, so the future scope of our project would be to incorporate multiple types of users. Here, since we consulted the student and a legal practitioner, the weights assigned were based on their perspective. But if we were considering laymen, maybe they would be interested only in the judgments. So we would vary our weights to compute similarity accordingly. And going forward, we would like to build a user-friendly interface and also expand this to incorporate a larger scale of documents. And we were also hoping to use this for legal judgment prediction, since rhetorical roles would play an important role in that. And we would like to acknowledge the contribution of our mentors for the meaningful insights, and the Agami and OpenNyai team for the smooth coordination and conduction. And we're very grateful for this opportunity to present our solution. Thank you.
So I have one question, and it's a slightly technical question, but I'll ask you anyway. When you're trying to find the similarity between two things, of course, I mean, at least from what I could understand, that basically, if I put in one judgment, I'm going to compare. I will do the similarity comparisons with respect to, let's say there were 10 other judgments. I will do it individually with all 10, right? Is that correct? Yeah. So therefore, but in reality, we have, crores of judgments, right? So therefore, how do you solve that problem? Are you familiar with techniques that actually, prevent you from, I mean, how would you solve it? I don't want to get into.
Yeah, so initially, we were initially supposed to do it on a much larger scale, but due to computational constraints, we restricted it to like the 300 that we were able to label. But we realized that this would be a problem, that we would have to compute each individually. So we thought maybe we could maybe cluster a group of similar documents, and then like every time a new judgment is introduced to the system, we compare it with like the median score and add it to that cluster.
Okay. Yeah, I think clustering is actually is in the right direction. There is a class of algorithms known as the approximate nearest neighbor. You can go and see how that works and whether that might be. So that's one of the things that people use when they are trying to match things at a very large scale. So you can look at that class. Anyway, yeah, just because in the end you can't match with every single judgment.
Thank you so much. We'll try that.
I just had a question for sir. Would you recommend any other algorithm other than other than a clustering approach?
I could not hear the question. I
think she was asking if you have any other algorithm in mind apart from k-nearest neighbor.
So maybe this is a topic separately. You can reach out to me. I'll be glad to share my thoughts on some of these things. But certainly, yeah, please feel free to reach out to me separately.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just, I think it's very, very useful work that you're doing, because the science around finding similar judgments is a very important part of making the whole system intelligent. Right now, it's all dependent on what has been referred and really building a use graph, right, based on what has been referred and used as a precedent. But I think that if we are to look at this from a technical point of view, we can have variety in that approach rather than being based entirely on the history of the precedents pertaining, and we can do it at a documentary level, which is what you're doing by just finding a similar document that considers similar things or similar facts or similar. So I think it's really important foundational work, whatever you're doing, and I hope you continue it. It's, even if the application doesn't seem like clear, like immediately, it's important work from an engineering point of view.
And also, I mean, I think I would like to, again, college students definitely really appreciate you participating and being here. So therefore, I just do want to congratulate you for taking part here and actually, as things, you have actually looked at a problem which is a foundational problem, not a specific application problem at this stage, which is good.
Thank you.
Yeah, true. I mean, at this level, all of you are thinking of such foundational, and I mean, I would have never thought about it. I mean, after so many years into the profession and dealing with all of this, just to hear this age group, I think we have a very bright future, is all I can say.
Thank you so much. Like, this gave us so much exposure, like even from the legal aspect, and we find this very interesting. We hope to continue this work going forward.
That's so good to hear, Sheetal. I'm so glad to hear you say that. Next up, we have Team Simplify. Simplify has designed a model that helps companies and app developers be compliant with data protection, regulations, and privacy laws. Team Simplify, over to you.
Am I audible? Swastik from Simplify.
Yes, Swastik, you're audible.
Thank you so much, Ashika, for the introduction. So we are Team Simplify, and we thank Agami for giving us this wonderful opportunity and platform to present our idea. So good afternoon, everyone. As we are Simplify, and our team comprises of 5 members, 2 from the legal background, that is I and Rupal Mathur from National Law University, Shimla, and 3 from tech background, that is Rishabh, Anisha, and Tushar. And they have previously worked with various organizations in the AI/ML side. Next slide, please. And our mentor is Mr. Ramakant Mohapatra, who is Director Privacy and Data Protection as Infosys product company. And our aim is to revolutionize the way app developers and startups used to be compliant with data protection regulations and make their privacy policies. So what are we doing? So our AI-based privacy and data protection tech solution will help app developers and startups to be compliant with data protection regulation, make their privacy policy without giving any hefty charges to lawyers and law firms. Our product will provide results instantaneously with high accuracy as we are using technologies like AI and ML. And this all will be done without any human interaction. Now, why are we doing this? So we are doing this because there is a dire need of a product like this in the market. You can take an example of any startup or app developer. They collect data, and when they collect data, they need privacy policy and consultancy about the data they are collecting. And they can't do it by themselves as they have very limited knowledge about the data protection regulations. And when they go to the lawyers, they can't communicate with them properly due to their limited knowledge, and also can't cover their hefty charges, as most of the nascent stage startups have very less cash surplus with them. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So what is the USP of this simplifier? So we are first in the market who have developed an app case analysis-based privacy policy generator, have developed optimizer for existing privacy policy, and has conceptualized chatbot for the legal advice related to data protection and risk analysis. And we have our USPs based on the global market research that we have done. Next slide, please. So let me give you a brief overview about the products that we are building, and then we will go on to the demonstration of the prototype. So the first one is the generator, which will generate legally compliant privacy policy within minutes without any human interaction. And this all will be done just by scanning through the code. It will be helpful for all the app developers and tech startups. Next product is our optimizer, which will make existing privacy policy more transparent, lawful, and fair. This will help our clients to gain trust of their customers. It will be helpful for everyone who has privacy policy, and whether it is website owner or a tech startup. Next, last product is our chatbot. This will provide you with the risk analysis of the data that you are collecting and procedure to be compliant with the data protection regulation and laws. Now, no phone calls, no meetings, no lawyers, nothing. You can be compliant instantaneously using our chatbot. Now, Anisha, you can share your screen and start the demonstration of the chatbot prototype.
Thank you, Swastik. Just give me a second. Is my screen visible?
Yep.
Okay, so
yeah.
Good evening, everyone. So this application that I'm demonstrating right now is essentially the chatbot and risk analysis system. So whenever a user comes on to, say, our website, they can quickly log in, make an account, because we've tried to make the experience completely personalized so that any company or any developer who look to start a company, who look to, say, start their own company, can quickly get solutions in seconds or minutes. So we first look into the chatbot, that is the AI assistant. So essentially the chatbot is mainly for answering your general queries. And by general queries, I mean, for example, just a second, I'll give it some demo, like some test questions that we have. So for example, how can a job app, if a company is starting up, they of course need interns or applicants. So how can they share the job applicants data? So it basically gives you an auto-generated answer, which is essentially trained in the backend. So what we've used in the backend to train this model is RASA. It's an open source model where we essentially provide it with intents and the types of questions that can be asked. And it has a inbuilt NLP model to extract the embeddings out of it and essentially answer questions of different types with a similar intent. So for example, for this given question, the intent was how, when you're dealing with applicant data, how are you supposed to essentially be compliant? So based on that, based on the question, and it identifies the intent and then gives the answer. So as I said, it's a very general query perspective. And if you want to go into a little in-depth, where we go into a risk analysis system, where we ask the user for a little more information from their query. So for example, right now we are analyzing the risk based on the kind of data the company is dealing with. So for example, if they're dealing with profile data, which location they're sharing it in, which location they're storing it, what kind of data it is, where they're going to be using it. So all these parameters essentially go into an ML model, where finally generates a basic classification saying if it's a low, moderate, or a high risk. The model used in the backend is a gradient boosted decision tree, because the data is fully textual, and currently, because we're not dealing with any extraction of meaning from the data, we thought that it was a good model to start off with. So for now, I'll just quickly give it a query. And once the query is submitted, the user can go onto their dashboard and essentially view all the risks and all the queries that they've submitted. So the moment they click on the queries that they've submitted, they get the risk value, if it's low, moderate, or high, and for which query was this given risk calculated for. Finally, what we look to do in the future is expand the system to make it like a one-stop solution for different startups and developers, or people who essentially want to start their own company, to be more legally compliant and legally sound without the expense of like hiring a whole legal team. And at least in the beginning stages where they can kind of do a research, we make it easier for them. And this is just the 2 products that we have. There are 2 more products which will be demoed by Rishabh on the call. So moving on to him now.
Hello, am I audible to all? Yeah.
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. Thank you. Can you allow me to share the screen?
Yeah.
So, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah. So thank you. So let me go with the first prototype. So for example, let's take an example of a simple browser app which is developed in a Swift language. So what a app developer just have to do is he just simply have to upload the code. For example, if I am uploading the if I am uploading a app for simple code for like this is the code for the browser, Brave browser. So I am opening it, so I can just start analyzing that. So you see this is the template which has been generated using our generator. So for example, I can this is an editable template. So what even I am belong from a tech domain, so basically we face the problem of privacy policy by uploading our software on the Google Play Store. So this is the sample privacy policy which has been generated, and it's also verified by the DSCI and some of the legal professionals too. So for example, if I have to edit, like for example, like I thought that I should have the permission for taking the context, and it's not written there. So I can add the context also. Along with, we are also providing the suggestions and what is tips and tricks, like authorization method can also be added in third party library. So we are also giving them the reason that why we are incorporating this feature. So this is the editable template. A developer can easily, or a simple tech user can easily generate a privacy policy. Coming to our next model, which is a privacy policy optimizer. So for example, I have uploaded a privacy policy. What I have to do here is I just need to upload a privacy policy. Let's say this is my privacy policy, and I need to figure it out that how much accurate it is, and what should be the amendments can one should do in with legal perspective. So for example, what I need to do is I just need to upload that privacy policy on my portal so here I'm uploading that. Okay.
Rishabh, I
So you
request
see,
up in the next minute because we have one more team to go.
yeah, sure. So I am just finishing up. So you can see, I can show the output also, like how much the privacy policy, how much is transparent, how much is easy to understand by the user, how much is compliance to the law, and how much it is precise. Even I can fix my policy also. For example, we fix the grammar. Now we can fix the policy also. What I need to do is I just need to click on the fix my policy, and it will give me the suggestion, and it will tell me that what are the changes have been done in my privacy policy. So that's all with the demo side. Yeah.
Yeah, just one last thing I want to clarify. The generator, which it generate the privacy policy, it will generate a legally compliant privacy policy on hand using the code scanning, and you can edit it if you want. But if you don't want to edit the privacy policy, it is already a legally compliant privacy policy. You can just export it and put it in your app. That's it from our side. Thank you for this opportunity. So we have built all these 3 products during these 6 weeks, and we give thank you for this opportunity to Agami and Make-a-thon. Yeah, we are open to questions.
This is Vivek. So are you familiar with the privacy policies of Brave browser? I'm just curious. You were talking about Brave browser. I just want to know what you understand about the Brave browser and how it's different from other browsers.
Yes, sir.
So Rishabh is
yeah.
yes.
So yeah, basically we know about the Brave browser, but we are not like analyze that private. Like I know that it runs on the crypto thing, and how it protect the privacy of a particular user by not providing the ads. But sir, like right now we have made up just a prototype only, so we are not generated the accuracy which is that much accurate like the original Brave browser. Yeah.
And what components did you use? That third-party components did you use to build whatever your solution are? Just can you highlight that?
So
I know
for the
you use
generator,
NASA in the bot. That's fine. I'm talking about and the other piece.
yeah, for the generator part, we haven't used any third-party thing. Like we are using directly the Python libraries. For example, you see this is a simple thing, like a simple idea. Like if I am having my text, like my Python code will read the code just like a simple text. So for example, if the developer is using a library which asks for the camera thing, like it will read that library and it will incorporate that thing into the privacy policy. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for participating, and all the best. Okay, thank you.
I'm good. No queries from me.
Same here. We could move to the next.
Wonderful. So now we're on to our final team for the OpenNyai Make-a-thon pitch. We have Team Lex AI. They've developed a tool called Case Check that leverages AI to examine text, citations, and structure of an uploaded document, which would help in examining work and identifying potential issues in your opponent's work. Joseph, Abhijit, over to you.
Yeah, can I share my screen? Yeah, just give me. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, so along, good evening, everybody. So along with me is Abhijit and Ashish, who are responsible for this product. Just to give you a background of Case Check, essentially the context of Case Check was basically to scratch my own itch. That was essentially was addressing the issue which I always felt was required, was this, that while we were working on documents or when we are arguing matters in court, could we essentially get pleadings verified on real-time basis? Could we get judgments which are cited in court documents or in pleadings which others may have quoted in real-time basis? And that was what we felt was our augmented lawyering strategy, which would require to be done. So the context of case check was fundamentally this, that we did a requirement analysis, and I did check out with colleagues in our law firm who wanted to have tools in addition to some contract tools which we were using. And they did indicate that they wanted some tools which could examine the cite text, the citations, and the structure of the document to detect legal issues in pleadings which they may possibly be confronted in real-time basis in court. So nowadays, most of we've stopped, and many courts in the Supreme Court, we have both lawyers and judges, and more particularly the Delhi High Court. Judges are always on screens. So we thought, why not work within the screen, that is within the native devices which lawyers typically work. And we felt that when we are arguing or when we are working with or reading files on a real-time basis, could we see the structure, the citations, or is there any other similar document of a similar nature? And that is essentially what we thought we should essentially build upon. It is essentially a Grammarly for lawyers on steroids. That's the context in which we looked at it. And we felt that it could be used by journalists who wanted to work on their articles and strictly look at legal judgments quickly to see whether anything which they write, is it correct? We felt that part of the use cases was this, that if we did look at the document, the legal issues were only in specific areas, we thought this could clearly be mapped to judgments. If anybody quoted a judgment, it could be checked. So this was essentially our use cases, which we essentially tried to factor in our product. So the one, of course, is the pleadings I mentioned. And many of us are working on real-time basis. If you're looking at a case like, and you could essentially check out your opponent's work or check your own work to see if there's a latest judgment on the point. And we felt that these could all be possible, and we could essentially even build using draw links from separate documents, draw links from separate roles, whether it's rhetorical or otherwise, and build analysis, and then build your own arguments going forward. Then we thought, obviously this is a low key, we could, while you're checking your own work, you could essentially pull out the judgment, review it, see the other related judgments on the point. Now, the second step, once the user requirement was understood, we did go through this entire process of designing and procuring it. So we did create a design model, and we collated around 500,000 judgments. We had more than 1 million judgments in the previous, which were already annotated, but we looked at it from looking at taking on fresh documents over the last decade or so from public databases, which we then collated, and we ingestion process where it was a pipeline. We're trying to create checking for quality, integrity, consistency, and the IPR related issues with respect to a specific judgment. More particularly so that the meta tags, the taxonomies, and the ontologies could at the back end work while the search is being done. Then the fourth part of it is data labeling and the rhetorical roles, which were essentially factored into each of these judgments which we looked at. Now, insofar as this is concerned, we worked on certain rule-based systems which ensured that some rhetorical roles were captured, because as you all know, annotation of judgments or data labeling of judgments is very costly, given the fact that if you're looking at 1 million plus judgments, how do you annotate judgments quickly? So we worked on certain rules. With rules, we did some generative AI steps to essentially build on those data labeling. And now we are reached to a stage where we believe that at least from a bronze level, we get to a silver level, from a silver structure corpora to possibly have human elements only for the last 10%, as a human in the loop, to essentially make a gold data set. Now, taking this forward, we then move on and we worked with some data scientists to essentially see whether we could work on various concepts. What our trained models could be used for particular use cases, whether it's to check our own work, or whether it was to analyze opponent's work, or also from a judgment's perspective to check all possible judgments which could be there. It may be cited by either party, it may not be cited by either party. So, and then we created an AI pipeline, the human capital mix, which essentially seeks to bring in other technology substitutes, which essentially would support our contracting, because we have worked on contracts in the recent past. Our firm essentially do work with contracts and automating contracts. And the AI learning which we did from that perspective was in some sense useful also in building case check. I don't want to go further on this, but probably the proof of the pudding is in the in a demonstration which Abhijit can probably show. And then I would request Ashish to probably handle any questions. Yeah, I'll stop my show. Yeah.
Yes, I'll just share my screen. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Let me give a demonstration of our prototype. This is the web page where a user can either drag the document or simply cut, copy, paste the document and for the further results. So let me pick up a document, sample document. Let me pick up this complaint of under section 138 of the NI Act, which actually deals with the punishment of dishonoring check, or what we generally call it as check bouncing cases. Now I can simply copy paste the content here. As you can see, we ensure that the formatting remains consistent, as it actually helps the user to understand the context. Now, for verifying our pleading, I think as a lawyer, one of the crucial step or process what we need to do is to get the case laws having the same factual scenarios what we have written in what we have in our present case. So let me, for example, select a particular sentence, say this. Now this is going to be our input query. Now I need to click on get match. Now, as you can see, there are certain icons which have appeared when I clicked get matches. These are actually the rhetorical roles. So right now I'm looking to find a case for myself, which is factually similar what pleading I am dealing with. So I will just select a fact rhetorical role. Now I've got two scenarios where, as you can see, if I click show more, I can see I am getting a check bouncing case. If there is a reference to fund insufficiency, and then this is a relevant text, relevant result what I've got. Now to further understand and read the case, I have to simply click on this particular citation. Now, as you see, at the moment I click on it, I have got the entire case which has opened in this module. Now I can read this entire case and further understand how this is relevant to my particular scenario. Similarly, I think another scenario which a lawyer always needs is to understand the analysis, to understand the legal analysis. So for example, right now I've selected this section 138B, and I need to get case laws for myself, seeing where court has analyzed section 138B. So I have selected it. Now I will click on get matches. Now I need to select statute applied as a rhetorical role or analysis. So right now I'm looking for analysis. I'll click on analysis. Now the moment I click on analysis, I have got a case called Sheikh Yusuf Khan versus State of Gujarat, where, as you can see, court has analyzed section 138B of the NI Act. There is an entire description about payee holder, what is the statutory limit to provide a notice, what is then within what a particular number of days I have to wait and then file my complaint. I have got the entire scenario. Similarly, sometimes it happens that we also need to actually read what is 138B. So right now, as a manual process, we will open our Bureau Acts and it takes a lot of time. So I can simply again select that particular text, which is already selected in this case, click on get match. And now I need to click on statute applied, because I am right now looking to get the particular section. So as you can see, I have got a case called Sanjay Singh versus State of UP, where I have got the result as section 138, which is the entire verbatim of section 138, dishonor of check for insufficiency, and the entire section is here. Similarly, for example, let me take this paragraph 16. Now it is written as that in view of the above, all the prerequisites of section 138 of NI Act, which are A, B, C, D. Now sometimes it may happen that while drafting a pleading, we may sometimes either miss out a essential, or we have just to check on whether, just to validate whatever essentials we have written is correct or not, we have to go back to again research databases and check the essentials. So right now, just to help and to save on that manual effort, we can simply select the essentials which I'm looking for. I'll click on get matches. I'm looking for precedent relied. I'll click on precedent relied. Now I've got a case called S.Savitri versus SK Babu, where, as you can see in this displayed result, our court has analyzed the essentials of section 138, and I can further click on the link. It will lead to me to the original case. I can read it myself and further use this case for building upon my argument. So the entire purpose of our prototype is to save on manual efforts of lawyers so that they can focus more on strategic decision making process. That's the intent. That's all from my end.
So just to add to this, what Abhijit had just shown, you could also write, you could pull up a case file, you could also write ad hoc, you could write your own articles, you could think of concepts, write it, and then find a legal pleading around it. So it is as intuitive as that. We are looking, of course, at this point of time, the entire database has still not been annotated. We have a significant large way to go on that. But we believe that what we have seen, we could essentially be an extension. But what Grammarly did for English grammar, we could possibly do for the legal community, is what our intent is. We believe we have started somewhere. We should be in a position to take this further. And you could, and I just wanted to indicate that, Abhijit, you could just delete it and we could probably add any content and we could find any match you want for any concept you may think out, so that, so that's as intuitive as that. Yeah, but probably, we may be running short of time. We could leave it for the questions. Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Vivek.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you, Vivek.
Yeah. So so first of all, I think it's a very nice application, which looks like it will save people a bunch of time. So my question is that you said that you are looking at 500,000 judgments, and what do you need to do in those judgments to actually make this thing really work? I know it worked in the cases that we gave here, but what is the work that you see that is required to actually make this work in a how far away are you from actually making this work in a realistic scenario?
Okay, so Vivek, so at this point of time, we have made it work with what we call the negotiable instrument cases. The reason why we took negotiable instrument cases was this, that it is actually like 25% of the cases on the Delhi dockets, rather than the Delhi courts, were negotiable instrument cases. In Chandigarh, it's 30% of the cases. So we felt that this is a situation, this is a problem which needed to be solved. So our problem right now, the immediate problem, what we're trying to solve is negotiable. Okay. So we believe that this is by itself a great, if 25% get out from the courts in Delhi, it may unclog the system significantly if it helps the judges, because by virtue of what we do. Now, if you, the next question around this would possibly be, and if it is that, how can we do it to the remaining 1.2 million cases? That's the data labeling part. Yes, we can. It is not something which we can't. It's the process is just it's probably a couple of months away, where we will need to use our rule-based systems as well as some sort of a little bit of ML over it. And we are trying to make sure that because it's the number of big cases is significantly large. So we would like to tread on it slowly before we jump automatically annotate it, you know. So the process is this, that we did for some gold standard annotations, we did use human annotators. But for the remaining cases, we at least to reach to some sort of silver standard, we are looking at a mixture of both rule as well as ML.
Thanks. Thanks. And I think a nice demonstration. Thanks.
Joseph, a question for you. Priyanka, anything?
No, go ahead, Sachin. I can ask later.
Okay. So my question is, the hypothesis is so strong that very wide variety of use cases, you know, journalists writing something, student writing something, litigator creating something. Does it make sense to look at a practice area where there's a lot of transaction volume to do something? Maybe that could be negotiable instruments, maybe that is something else, but identify such an area, create a tool like this, which is out there, and just sort of see and get that. So rather than you aim for the big jump, the more agnostic jump. So are you thinking of identifying an area, or is negotiable instruments that area where you can get something out for people to work with?
Yeah. So yes, negotiable instrument area, at least from statistically, and as per what the Law Commission has also indicated, such a is clearly the low-hanging fruit. You know, because what happens is this, that we believe that given our ability to work with contracts, and that's really where we actually started. We were able to work with contracts and identify the key clauses in most contracts. We've used the same principles to take out the dates in negotiable instrument cases. So, for example, the complaints cases, because negotiable instrument is a mixture of both complaints, where dates are very relevant, in what time period. So that could essentially be extrapolated, and those details could be got out very easily, which could be made available for a judge in a simple sheet of paper as a summary. That process, that summarization process, essentially leads to what Abhijit showed in terms of every complaint or every pleading or every evidence being essentially analyzed in the same manner to see whether there are inconsistencies. And that made us feel that there is no reason why should negotiable cases be clogging up cases in Delhi, I mean, or the country, for example. It is, I think, as per the Commission report, it is around 8% of the total cases in the country are check bouncing cases. It is as, I mean, we think it is, I mean, I could use more harsher words than that, but check bouncing cases does not need to clog up the country's court systems. You know, I mean, it's 33% in Chandigarh. I mean, this is ridiculous in our view. We believe that these sort of systems should be essentially used to essentially address a very key pain point. And it can be easily solved. There is no reason why that you should have 30% of the cases in a place like Chandigarh clogging up the entire remaining systems, which could essentially be clear. So what we had seen in the past in terms of rent control cases being disappeared when Justice Mohan was there, simple principles should essentially give a judge an ability to clear up the backlog.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you.
So I think, Joseph, you did mention that you're looking at the non-negotiable cases as well. So I mean, just curious that, you know, we all know that the structure is not the same of the judgments which are coming out. So there is some element of confidence that you guys have that you'll be able to kind of work on it.
Yes, of course, of course. So Priyanka, so we have more than 1.5 million cases in our database, which we will slowly essentially roll out. We're looking at, I mean, low-hanging fruits in essentially. Take the targets which are achievable, share it with, I mean, we work with the judiciary and work with various institutions to essentially address this key pain point. Give it, if possible, I mean, that's one of the key things. Fortunately, we have a good, if it's not going to be done in the next 2 years, I don't think it's ever going to be done. Okay, so I think if we do show successful cases in the next 2 years, we probably may see an impetus which this probably requires.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Lex AI, and thank you all of the teams who have participated today. It's been incredible to see you come so far, and we will be announcing the results by September 21st. So stay tuned. We'll write to you. We'll post it on the groups that we have. Sachin, if you'd like to say anything to the teams that presented today.
Yeah, no, just very, very exciting because very different. You know, what is really cool is the very different use cases, which is fantastic. And you can see some of them are more weighted to the legal thinking. Some of them are more focused on the technical challenge. But really great to see lawyers and technologists work together on these very different use cases. Really great to see people working on the fundamental issues. Also, some of them I appreciated KitKat's work and Legally Blonde, both looking at the more fundamental issues around what is the logic to apply to this kind of work. And my encouragement to everybody that we are a part of a very nascent ecosystem that has been largely proprietary thus far. So we don't really know what is happening inside. Of course, there's money on the table, but it would be fantastic if we could be a part of one ecosystem, an open ecosystem that ultimately puts the AI condition of law and justice on a good, stable wicket for the future. So all the best to everyone working on this. And I hope that there's going to be a lot of sharing going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sachin. Vivek, do you have anything you'd like to share with the teams?
No, I think I really enjoyed this session and all the teams, really lots of interesting, innovative ideas. Certainly my mind is kind of thinking of the various things that we can do with from, even the things that people have said and how things can move forward. And, I think that I do want to make a plug for doing things in an open way, because that's one of the fundamental things that we believe here at OpenNyai. So, and I think that especially in the area of law and justice, I think having the transparency of what we are doing when we are going into an area like AI is going to be very important.
Thank you, Vivek. Priyanka, anything you'd like to say to teams? Oh, I think maybe we've lost Priyanka. Okay, no problem, I guess. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. So sorry to be 40 minutes over time, but it was so exciting. I hope you couldn't tell. We will be in touch. Judges, maybe I'll write to you with how we can take next steps on to decide the winning teams. But thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. See you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.